The day after the London summit, the headlines announced big promises and record sums of money from the globe's richest nations. But business leaders were left doubting they would get any relief at all.
I think we would have liked to have heard more about what was going to be done to help the men and women on the front line who currently are either on short-time working or having their pay cut or frozen.
The G20 did unveil a $1.1 trillion stimulus. Critics would argue this is little more than a repackaging of previous relief programmes, but that they managed to agree on anything at all could be seen as a positive result.
It actually turned out better than I expected, but only in the sense of direction and its symbolic value. The specifics are much harder to understand.
For many small businesses, the messages that come out of the G20 are a long way away removed from what they see in their day-to-day trade.
Discontent was also evident from the anti-business side. Thousands of protesters demanded action over a range of issues and focused on the City of London, where demonstrators stormed the bailed-out Royal Bank of Scotland. Cooler heads expressed doubts over the G20's ability to deliver, despite the group representing at least 85% of the world's GDP and 60% of its population.
This is the short-term fix, and they say, well, give us this opportunity to get the world stable again, and then we'll attend to these imbalances down the road. This is an empty promise, and they will not deliver it on it. I am confident of that. Once the world economy starts growing again, there will be no appetite to address the global imbalances which lie at the heart of this crisis, in my opinion.
In an effort to right those imbalances, the summit did agree to expand funding to the IMF, with a focus on helping developing nations, but with the notable absence of any backing from the cash-rich Saudis. The G20 also seriously underrepresents one continent in particular, with only one country present from Africa. The IMF's Policy Steering Committee, however, recently appointed Egypt's finance minister as its first ever chairman from an emerging market.
I am much more in tune with problems of China, Brazil, South Africa than I would be instinctively to problems from North America or Western Europe.
Like others, he believes the IMF needs not only extra funds, but to reflect new realities.
The balance of power needs to be re-established. And for this to happen, we need to change quotas, we need to readdress the voting shares in the IMF. All of it essentially to increase the credibility of the institution and increase its ability to influence policies in member countries.
But one policy that must stay for the benefit of both member countries and the corporate world is supporting trade. For companies facing the difficult decision of laying off staff to survive, protectionist measures may seem appealing, but, argues the director of London think tank Chatham House, are misguided.
British jobs for British workers, or Buy America for America, or lending French taxpayer money only for French taxpayers' jobs. It all sounds good in the near term, but in the long term we're not going to get growth going again without some of the benefits of an integrated global economy.
And to get growth going again requires credit. In spite of huge handouts, banks are still not doing their job, something that the G20 has failed to tackle.
There's no use of putting money into a bank to make it survive. A bank should not merely survive, it should be lending. If it's not lending and you're putting money in just for its survival, it's better to make it into a hotel or a restaurant instead of trying to keep it as a bank which cannot lend.
But what business wants more than anything is for the G20 message to translate into a boost in consumer confidence.
I don't think we're more or less optimistic until we see it come through down to the businesses that are actually on the ground trading day to day on the high street.
Meanwhile, against the backdrop of world doom and gloom and anti-capitalist protests, the Adam Smith Institute pushed the message that despite the present crisis, the model remains alive and well and has delivered great benefits to the world.
And the fact is that capitalism, markets, free trade, countries like China and India at last coming into the world economic system, that has raised 1 billion people out of abject poverty in just the last 10 years alone.